Apparently, I'm thick, but not as thick as the 118th episode of the SAWDUST Nation podcast. Welcome in as we get ready to talk about our shops. Myself, Nap from Nap Snyder Works LLC, Josh from North Country Woodworking, and Nick from MPG Creations.
Yo!
Yeah, I know. I guess we got a lot to talk about today. I've been MIA for, 2 episodes? It seems like 2 episodes, 3. I don't even know anymore. My last 2 weeks have been a blur. But, Josh, in lieu of your amazingly sickly sounding voice, what do you got going on in your shop, man?
I don't know what you mean, man. I think I feel fine and dandy.
You sound awful, dude.
Thanks.
I heard you were sick last week, so I can only imagine how last week went.
I got the bronchitis, so that's been fun. I've been told to stay out of the wood shop, which is not good.
Ooh.
Well, it was fine for a while, but after I complained about not having orders, I literally got like 10 orders in one day. So, let's go through all that, shall we? So it was a blessing in disguise. I got a whole bunch of orders. I got them from Etsy. I got them from local. I got them, from Delaware, you name it. So I'm grateful for that. I definitely need some revenue coming into the shop. I was using the shop to pay bills, and well, if you make no money for the shop, then you have to go out of the house fund. And the wife wasn't too happy about that, but it is what it is. It's business for you. You got your highs and lows, right? So we're learning that, our first year, which I'm assuming the first year is going to be the toughest anyway. I got one of my, I don't want to say my first 3D printing job. It's I would say the most efficient one of yet, because I use the invoicing system, and we went through the process of, almost like a normal business. Before it was like, hey, can you 3D print this? Yeah, this much. But I produced an invoice. They actually gave me the file, so I just had to see if I could print it. And they wanted ABS, which is a different type of filament print. It's going to be about a 13, 14-hour job. I had to order the filament for it. I was hoping they wanted PLA black, but no, they wanted ABS, which is a responsible choice of them, because what they're trying to do is they're making a additional coffee cup holder for their car. And this jig essentially is going to allow them to use, I think it's their cassette tape or a portion of their car stereo hub to support this. So I'll be starting that tonight. I was going to start it this morning, but with the time frame, it would cut into the recording, and you don't need to hear that whining and stuff in the background. We're here for that sick audio, not for that. So going forward, I got paid for a shadow box. I need to get done by October 10th. They need it by the 15th. So I'm trying to get them about 5 days early so they can go ahead and put all the materials in themselves per their request. And they're about an hour away. So we're actually just going to drive 30 minutes each and meet each other. It's better than shipping. I can hand it off to the client, get that, quick interaction with them and make sure that everything's good. I did get the Air Force symbol, Master Sergeant Chevron. The invoice was canceled. They didn't want to spend the amount of money it was going to cost at this time, which I understand. Toward the retirement, things are starting getting a little bit tight, just especially nowadays. So I also offered, half and then half later, but they haven't got back to me. So I'll cancel the invoice, and they can always approach me when they're ready for moving forward. That goes into place. My prices are my prices. For that particular one, I had to do, was going to have to do some design process. It's the first one of its kind. There would be just a little bit more material and a little more time spent on it. So I did charge them accordingly for that. And I thought it was the right price for the project itself. Looking at Etsy and other places, I feel like I was in the ballpark, at least for my area, especially. We got a custom plaque to be making. That's going to be sent out to California. The only reason I know this is because I looked up the picture, but it's like a Dungeon Master picture. It's like a guy in a cloak that's all shaded, like hunched over. And it's like this very granulated gray, dark picture. And they're going to have I think it's the bomber wings in the center where he's kind of like holding his hands. So it's almost like he's casting the bomber wings. And I'll be making that, sending that out. I actually just got paid on Square as we started. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's going to look pretty sweet. It's going to be one of those where I'm going to have to do some samples first to nail the different gradients of the grays and stuff. But I think with my experience, I can go ahead and definitely knock that out. In addition to that, the saga of the spice rack and the shadow box there is still going because I haven't been able to go in the shop. I'm literally I have to stain the wood for the spice rack and finish it. And then, like I said last week, I just got to finish that shadow box real quick. I may risk it for the biscuit because this poor customer has had to wait on a couple of delays, and I don't feel like it's deserving to wait any longer. So I might just double up on my mask protection in there, my N95 mask, and just get it done. I think it's worth it. It's not going to be too much cutting or anything crazy. It's mostly going to be glue and stuff like that. I got a couple invoices out. I'm still waiting to get paid for. One will be a Captain American shield for the Pentagon. Someone that works on the Pentagon, excuse me, not the actual Pentagon. But so I'm waiting to get paid from that. I reached out to them today to see how that's moving. I got a couple plaque keys. The keys are cut out like a, I don't know, cherry and then engraved and stuff for security forces. Military working dog project. That's similar to one of my early works, but it's going to be a tad different. And I think another possible shadow box, if I remember correctly. I have a list because they started adding up so fast. It was kind of hard to keep an eye on. But I think I'm going to start trying to run the laser, especially for some of this stuff, because at least with that, I can start it, and exhaust outside. So I'm not like inhaling any crap or anything. The big worry, I'm trying to, no small particles or anything. I don't need for this to progress into ammonia or anything. Then I'm out even longer. But I'm kind of lucky because the majority of my projects are not even due to November. There's the ones and twosies that are due sooner, but most of them are engraving, and the biggest one being that shadow box. And it's one I've done quite a few times, so I don't think I would have to run the CNC and stuff, but I don't think I need to be right there for most of the stuff. Other than that, that's about it when it comes to the shop stuff. I have done some design work and stuff like that. I haven't been on Instagram because I have really nothing to add. I've been trying to keep it easy, and I've been in and out of the doc's ER and stuff like that, just because of doc's discretion. But and plus all the drugs and stuff I'm on. Some of it says the cough medicine I have says causes blurry vision and not to operate any kind of vehicles. So I really don't want to be working a saw.
You get the good stuff.
That sounds way better than ibuprofen.
Yeah. And then the steroids and stuff I'm on and all that makes me kind of jittery too. So that's just a bad combination. Other than that, it's just been what it is. Work has been kind of crazy. We have someone out with COVID. So they're out. They went on leave and got COVID and leave. It's a 3 to 4 person shop. One's out on COVID. One's trying to take use or lose. And the other one just got back from 6 months being gone and forgot the majority of the job. So I am trying to catch them up, do my portion of the job. And it's not a hard... I've done it before, so it's not something I know I'm capable of doing. But sometimes when you're training someone, it takes a little bit more effort to do the job just because you got to allow them to do it and then go back and fix it or tell them what happened and kind of guide them through. I'm very lucky to work with the people I do work with because they're very smart individuals that catch on quickly. So it allows me to move with the process faster than I would with some people I've worked with in the past. And then I got some programs I'm trying to do and, get complete and be able to stay current with because the person that got COVID is alternate. And one of the programs we run is basically counting bullets, and we got to do it every quarter. And I need her to be there for that. And she has COVID. So I don't know how that dice is going to roll, but it's going to have to work some way. That's pretty much it for what's going on with me. A lot of shop projects that I could begin knocking out right now, but unfortunately I'm stuck. Hopefully this gets done soon and I get it in there and be able to knock all this out. So it's gonna be fast paced for a while to catch up, but I think I'll be able to do it. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and toss it over to Nap because he hasn't been on in a minute. So I'm curious what's going on with him. And I know Nick can be our our anchor because he is constantly getting orders of late. And I know his shop talk is going to be something to listen to. So with that, Nap, take it.
Yeah, I've been MIA for a while. Like I've almost been MIA off of everything between Instagram, texting, phone calls, just everything. And I'm fine. Thanks for asking, everybody. But it's just been it's been a busy 2 weeks. Let's see. So last week went on 12-hour shifts, which for most that listen to this, be like, oh, that's nothing. It's typical stuff. It is typical stuff, especially in the military. We like to just randomly get on 12s, but there was really no randomness for this. We were in the middle of, we'll just say, an exercise, and it required us to extend our hours, which then extended through the weekend. So I worked for, let's see, 12 days straight, 12-hour shifts. So it was pretty fun. Not really. Did a lot of manual labor at work since, the one thing those are good for is getting things done that need to get done around the shop, and not like my wood shop, but the work, at work. So we got a lot of stuff done there. And because I'm like kind of the boss of my section, I had to find things for us to do, which we had plenty to do. It was just a matter of what was priority and what would be the smartest thing to get done in that time. So obviously that took away from actual wood shop here. But in the smoke and mirrors of all of that, I was able to finally get some things done in my shop. I talked about all the drywall and all the things that I was going to be doing. Well, in my time, little pieces of time off, I made small trips to Home Depot, and I got insulation, I got moisture barrier, I got drywall, all those things. And this weekend I finished drywalling the shop. So that's a plus, a big plus, honestly. That was a big pain in the rear, especially when you find out in the middle of hanging the drywall, one of your studs in the frame is not even with the rest of them. Yeah, I didn't take that piece of drywall down. We'll just say that there was a bucket of mud thrown at it, and it actually looks semi-decent. And I will say, if you would think that anybody that builds houses has perfect things line up perfectly every time, it's a lie. I guarantee you somewhere in your house there's some drywall that's not drywall. It's just a big mash of just drywall mud. What's up, Josh?
I don't want to share all the details, but Matt Wackerly told me about when he bought his house, how he had a issue where it looked like a cracked foundation, and all it was a foundation. There was a crack in the wall. And long story short, the realtor thought one thing, but Matt, being an engineer, knew it was just drywall. Yeah, if you don't do drywall right, it could be the detriment to your selling the house and someone buying the house a plus. Just a little side note there.
Luckily, it's in the garage.
Yeah.
So these new homes down here, they go up so darn fast that there's like, with all the heat expansion and everything, all like the drywall swells and contracts. All of like the baseboards are starting to peel apart from the wall in the area in the back of the house, because that's where the sun hits it first. It's really weird how like the sun superheats the outside of the house, and then the heat flows through and just cracks the caulking, and the baseboards start to warp and peel away. It's nuts, man.
How do you combat that?
Well, my favorite is when this how do you combat that?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's really an answer to that, because I ain't gonna lie to you. Anytime you buy like caulking or anything like that, now mind you, if you've ever been in that section of Home Depot, Lowe's, any of those places that sells that kind of stuff, there's like umpteenth different types of caulking, and I'm sure there's a correct one, but typically
like
most houses,
the larger tubes of caulk, don't you, Nap?
I do, absolutely. But most of them say like flexible, crack resistant, all these things. And I'm just like, okay, well, either A, that's a lie, or B, it just wasn't ready for the extreme temperatures, like let's say Texas being extreme heat, or like here where it's about to be extreme cold.
And that's kind of what I'm hitting at, is like for us, wood movement is something we have to battle. And I imagine in carpentry for like houses and stuff like that, that is something they also have to battle. But I've seen different techniques. Not as
they
much.
Don't necessarily battle it.
That's what the point I'm trying to get at is like we do. I would say, and this is rough. We do fine woodworking. That's the kind of category I would say we do because our miters and our joints need to be tighter. Our stuff needs to be straighter.
No butt joints here.
Long story short, what I'm trying to get at is when you're doing a house, having a gap, you can kind of get away with certain gaps with inspections and stuff like that. And like, your miter doesn't always have to be on point. You can walk around any building for the most part and see miters that are less than par. And I'm not trying to say that every carpenter out there is like that. Finished carpentry is a whole different thing. But what I'm trying to get at is like, it's a different set of woodworking. And like, I'm just curious on that aspect and that spectrum, how they combat certain things. Like there has to be a way a good construction company would battle the heat expansion of like what you're experiencing there, Nick. I have to imagine there's something out there or a way to battle that because you can't do that. That's I can't imagine that is the way people just roll. It's hard.
A lot of it has to do with the house settling. Still, it was a brand new home when we moved in, so there are a lot of things in the house that shift after a minute. Yeah, and there's really nothing you can do about it until after it's already settled, and then you can replace the. I don't know if that's my car alarm or I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna go see if that's my car alarm that's going off.
Okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Somebody else shut it off.
Stay tuned.
But like, so you wait till your house shifts and settles, and everything finds its final resting place, and hopefully it's its final resting place. But I figure after a year or two, things are kind of in the place they're going to settle at. And I had this problem when I bought a house in South Carolina too, that after that 1 year, first off, your warranty's up for most of the homes that you buy that are brand new. So everything just tends to break on that 366th day. So that's literally like I was in the house for a year, and 10 days after my warranty expired, my air conditioner bought the farm. So I had to buy a complete new HVAC system for my house in South Carolina.
That's rough.
And yeah, I mean, it was completely out of contract with the builder too. So whatever, right? But same thing goes for everything else. If you have like, especially if you live in a subdivision with a one builder, if you're within that year, you can call them. They can come out and put a patch on it. Like I could have called the builder and had them come out and put like caulking and stuff like that, recaulk the baseboard. But I just knew that this wasn't going to last. It starts separating like that. I mean, how much caulk can you fill it with? You need like a gallon of caulk to put it in there.
Well, that's the funny thing is like when I was getting ready to move out of San Antonio, we were like fixing the house up before we finished selling and everything. There were spots that you noticed later on, obviously, like because on initial buy, you're like, oh, this house is awesome. You're not looking at like all the finer things. You're ready to move in. It was our our second. Actually, it was our first actual home that we bought. And it was like, oh, this is so nice, so cool. And then you start noticing the little things. Like one of the things I noticed was, how like some kitchens have like the island in the center, and then you have like the counters up against the walls and everything. Well, I walked out of my room one day and I noticed, and I don't know why I noticed this, but the island was like this. It was crooked. And I was like, that's crooked. And I started measuring and doing all the things, and I was like, it sure stuff is crooked. It was crooked by like almost a quarter of an inch. And I don't know why I noticed it, but it just randomly came up, and I called the builder. I was like, hey, you need to come fix this. Yeah, they tried. They couldn't fix it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to ignore this because I'm not about to have the center of my kitchen destroyed for them to try and fix that. Now, mind you, the normal person isn't going to notice that. I think it's just something we all have an eye for when it comes to, Yeah, like your eyes are used to finding all the faults, all the little things that most people aren't going to see, which is a blessing and a curse all in itself.
How about door frames not being completely square? Have you ever seen that?
Oh, God.
Don't even
All the
get me
time.
started.
It's
My
so
front
bad.
door is like that. My front door is like that.
Well, I mean, like, I just started noticing around the house some doors are sticking now because the house is shifting into its final resting place, its final position, you know? So you got to kind of do what you got to do to combat that by you can stick a wedge in and then loosen up the hinges and then do what you got to do to get them screwed in correctly so they hold it. But a lot of times, though, after a while, the hinges, they'll start to sag as well, just with a lot of use. So that could be also an issue. But
It's just small things. I mean, like, I think Nap hit it perfectly. Us particularly, we're in the military. We're trained to look at the small things. Our backgrounds have a lot of checklist usage and small details we need to pay attention to, or people or planes or things that go bad. And because of that, blessed or cursed, sometimes it takes a lot more time than we like to admit. We start seeing things with our cars, our houses, even our squadrons. And in me in particular, I walk around the squadron and I look at all the trim because don't ask me why, but there's like trim literally everywhere. And there's like,
I know how you feel.
Trim this.
There's like
trim
eighth
that.
inch
Trim will fix
gaps
that.
between some of these pieces of trim that they just caulked and painted over. And like I was talking to the chief and we're just BSing in his office, and I go over to, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "There's so many gaps in your office, I can't stand in here." And he started laughing because once I pointed it out, he came into my office. He goes, "I can't sit in there."
I hate you. Thank you for pointing that out.
I can't unsee it. But it's the same with the truck. When I first got it, everything looked good. And then I started noticing little things, I had to do little touch ups and stuff. But I think it's just that, call it a curse or blessing. But, I think in the end, it's more of a blessing because I'd rather know what's wrong and see what's wrong than be ignorant to it. So,
yeah.
So I have a pal at work now that he just moved here. He bought a house. It wasn't built yet. Right? He paid the builder or whatever. He was contracted to have the house built and all that stuff. It got constructed. They were going to closing, but he'd been stopping by the house just to check on progress. He did it probably like 3 or 4 days a week just to drive past it, whatever. But towards the end, he started going in and making sure everything was up to par. And the day he was supposed to close that morning, he walked in and somebody had been inside the house, clogged up all the drains with rags, turned all the water on and bounced. So it was like the wet bandits took a visit. Not only to his house though, because his house is in like an area where a whole bunch of houses are being built. There was 3 other houses in the cul-de-sac, I guess, that got vandalized like that. So that's crazy. I would be like, I'm not closing on that house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure not. He was probably pretty pissed, but I'm sure the builders were like, "What the?"
Oh yeah. He called the builders. The president of the company came out and was like, "All right, I'm calling everybody in. We need to get this house like off of our books." So they called in restoration people to do infrared scans on the walls to make sure that the water didn't go up into the drywall and moisture is being taken care of. They ripped out all the carpet, flooring, baseboards, everything, and replaced everything. And I don't know when he's going to close next, but that just seems like a huge pain.
Oh yeah, because it's all on them. It's all on the builders.
But they're the ones that didn't even lock it. Like, you kidding me, man?
Yeah, I guess their policies need to change. Either lock it or get a guard for the area they're building and have security. I think we just go ahead.
I was saying what sucks is then I know probably where you're going there, Josh. But what typically happens, and this is what I was told when I bought my home because it was a fresh build when I bought it, is that the builders are typically the ones. Now this is very seldom or rare, but the realtor told me that some of the builders would actually have keys to the houses. So when you get your keys or whatever, and you're like doing everything, you do what's called break the locks. Making sure that the keys work and the tumblers get set with your new key. Well, the builders would have the keys, and no BS, like the shadier ones would, like just the helpers would come and like steal appliances and stuff. And then, the appliances would be gone and they have to refurb it, because they're not going to be like, oh, we're not going to give you appliances. They'll just put new ones in there. But typically, like if someone was pissed or whatever, they would do stuff like that, which is kind of sad because like you spend all that work and then you ruin it.
There's always that 1-2%.
Yeah. No place is perfect. But Josh, I think you were probably going to go into saying, we think we went off a little bit of a rabbit hole there on houses.
Yeah.
And things. It happens. But to continue on with the throwing mud at it. So most contractors, from what I know, when it comes to uneven walls and those things, they'll throw mud at it, even it out, sand it, paint it, and like nothing ever happened. And most of the drywall, like mud stuff, actually does not crack. Typically, you always see your cracks at the seams, like where the seam tape is, and that comes into where like Nick was talking about how when the house settles and things like that. So I'm gambling with that right now. I'm sure it'll be fine. God only knows how long I'm going to be here, so I'll be the only one that knows and probably fix it umpteenth amount of times until it just stops. But nothing really has changed in the drying and sanding of the mud. However, I'm not going to finish the garage until next spring. So I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, which was electrical, all the insulation, all the moisture barrier, all the drywall, everything's up. Because I wanted to give the heater that I had spent so much time and money on and whatnot, get installed and everything. I wanted to give it a chance to show me what it's got. So it is currently, let's see, what's the temperature here in
-3 already?
No, it's 54 degrees right now. And I can guarantee you right now, my garage is still 70 degrees right now. It's maintained temperature overnight. It's comfortable. Now, mind you, that's not really a test quite yet because it has yet to hit the negatives, but I can say that if I can walk in my garage after an overnight amount of time, so 12 hours or so, depending on how long it is until I walk into the garage again, it'll stay to where it's comfortable for me to walk in there, at least a hoodie. Because I'd be ignorant to say that, it's just going to be toasty all the time. Like, no, there's going to be days where it might be a little cooler than others, but that's fine. As long as I can go in there and work. That was the purpose of the heater. So all that's good. I was getting the shop back in order before we jumped on today. I was able to get the CNC fired up yesterday and take care of a wasteboard for the new Shapoko owner, or the owner of my Shapoko, the one that I sold. I've been kind of helping him every step of the way because I told him, like, hey, you're buying my older machine. Whatever you need for it, let me know. I mean, you work with me, so, I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure it's a comfortable transition for you. So he's actually been outfitting that thing. He got a beast of a machine. The only thing that, like I said, that I had not really an issue with was it was just a belt-driven machine. That was the only thing that I was trying to get away from. But it's going to serve all the purpose that he's going to need it for. He already bought a JTech laser because my stuff was wired for JTech originally before I got my CO2. Well, he's not going to buy a CO2 right away because, he could be moving in May. So there's a possibility of that. So he's like, yeah, I'm not going to buy one of these. I'll just get a JTech. It's going to serve the purpose of what I need it for. And because he's new to all of that. So he's doing the baby steps, kind of like most of us did. Baby steps from diode to, more powerful laser, which is pretty awesome. And he actually got the 14 watt. So I'm kind of actually curious. I might even go to his shop and just kind of take a peek and see what the main differences were. I will say that it's a pretty beefy little 14 watt. I ain't gonna lie. It's got some weight to it, but time will tell, and we'll see how that all works out for him. Eventually, he's going to inherit my PWN CNC spindle. So kind of like Nick, I think you were doing your giveaway for your old spindle. I told him, I was like, hey, the spindle you have is about 2.5 years old. And I'm just going to, when I get my new spindle, I'm just going to give him that one. Just because I was like, why not? So there's that. I got a new chiller for my spindle now. Because my old chiller decided to die. I got the beefy 5200. That's a Viver 5200 chiller. I learned how to set the temperatures on it and do all those things. By the way, it's actually kind of tricky. If you don't watch a video and you read the instructions, you'll have no idea what you're doing. So I definitely would say if you buy a chiller for a spindle or anything like that, just look up a YouTube video. It was literally a 5-minute video on how to change all the settings, and well, it was very beneficial. I'm soon getting my 2.2 kilowatt spindle from Daniel. We've been talking about it, and I'm really excited for that because it's half-inch collet, true 2.2, all the power. I'm really interested to see how much different that's going to be when it comes to production in the shop. Jobs, though, that are going on other than my restoration of the shop, the laser is about, we'll call it 90% complete as far as upgrade. I have to adjust the red dot laser to point where the actual laser is going to hit. And I know when I move the laser, for some reason, if you move it, it throws it out of alignment because the levelness of the machine has changed, whatever. But it's not going to be that much to readjust. I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to say it. Heritage boards. Yeah, those are still there. I'm waiting on parts. I've already emailed them and said, hey, I need this. Like now, if you want these anytime soon, I kind of need those. I got a PCS gift for Chief, which is cool. Doing one of those flags, the walnut cherry flags that we like to do with the badges on them. A little bit bigger than normal. They actually want a little, maybe almost like, I would call it 150% of the size. So like add another, foot or so to it. And that's about how big they want it with a bunch of badges on it. I got an inquiry on a Hap Arnold shadow box. The person asked me for the price, and I know the person that is going to. I said I'd do free shipping and free shipping materials, whatever. I gave him my price, and I actually looked up the exact one that they showed me, and I was right on the money, like exactly the price that they would have bought it for on Etsy, which I was actually kind of impressed because I've never actually hit something right on the money. I'm either too far under or too far over, so it's kind of nice to actually know like what the price was just by looking at it. I have another gift thing that I've never done before. I kind of have, but so they're shadow boxes, but they're little. They're like that. We're talking maybe a foot by like 8 or 9 inches wide with like little metal in it with a placard. Yeah, they're baby shadow boxes. I've never done these before. I can't imagine they're going to be too hard. However, that is actually where I'm going to try out my acrylic game because what they showed me had some acrylic stuff involved in it. So I'm actually going to give that a whirl and see how we do. I don't know when I'm going to start that job. It's not due till like late November. So, I mean, it's about a month and some change from now. So I'm not too worried about it. And then I got some going away gifts to do from some guys in the shop. That's more like, hey, just pay me for materials and I'll make it because it's for people in the shop. Like I'm not going to go arm and a leg here for things in the shop. Now, sometimes, we say to ourselves like, hey, we shouldn't do stuff like that because, you don't make any money doing that. But where I'm at in my level of, we'll call it game here in North Dakota, no one knows me yet. No one really knows that I do stuff. I still get orders from San Antonio and things like that. But once I do this flag for this going away and I do a couple little things here, it's just going to show what I'm capable of. And I'm pretty sure I'll pick up more jobs next year as the winter ends. Because the winter here, no one does anything in the winter. Everyone hides. They hermit because it's freaking cold and no one wants to do anything. So we'll see how that all turns out. Let's see. What else is this? Is there anything else going on? No, really just putting the shop back together at this point. I mean, that's really my main goal. After the podcast tonight, I'm going to go finish cleaning up and getting some things set up. And maybe even tinker with the laser a little bit. But tomorrow will be wrap up the laser, finish it, and then start etching glasses for this Air Force ball thing. Because when it's due in late October, I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to take my time.
They're having the ball in October?
Weird, right? We won't go into why that's happening. But anyways, let's just say there was a ball dropped on the ball. But yeah, so there's a lot going on in the shop. It doesn't seem like a lot. And like I said, I've been MIA. But I'll finally get to post a reel with the finish, like from the start to finish of the shop being, we'll call it restored. It's about all I got going on. It's kind of a lot to say a little, but Nick, dude, the never-ending stream of jobs. What's going on in your shop?
Working on a lot of stuff, man. Got a lot of things going on simultaneously, such as I've got 3 flags on the kitchen table at the moment. I have to go ahead and peel and stick the rest of the decals that I made through, with the laser and acrylic. But the flags are wood, and they're like black subdued flags. So you'll see those on Instagram coming soon. Those go out soon. I've shipped off a lot of stuff this week as well. A couple of I had one first sergeant plaque, I guess you could say, and I've got another security forces plaque to do, and just a bunch of different cool stuff. Somebody hit me up today. They saw my stuff and wanted a nameplate for their desk. So I was like, okay, cool. So, and they want it out of acrylic though. I was like, well, that's neat. Something that you can get. You can buy pretty thick acrylic pieces, and I know JDS Industry has stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do some research on. But other than that, I'm taking a trip out to High, Texas this weekend. Going to drop off the rest of their order. God willing, it gets completed. This past weekend, I spent the entire weekend buttoning up a few orders that needed to be finished, as well as starting all of the coasters I needed to make, and the Whiskey Stave flights for their, what do you call them? Glencairn glasses. Other than that, though, I do have a couple shadow boxes to make, 3 to be precise. 2 of the American...
More than
What's
a couple.
that?
It's like, that's a few.
So I have 2 American flag shadow boxes with the United States cutout on them. Those will go out here in a couple weeks, as well as the just a generic like shadow box with a triangle on top for the flag. All going to be out of cherry wood. I typically recommend cherry wood to my customers who are trying to save a little money. Maple's more expensive than cherry, at least down here. But sometimes people want what they want, and you can't talk them out of it. So you got to do what you got to do. But
I'm mad at you because you have Dakota. I have something.
Well, you're in Dakota, and you can't even get.
I know. Like, how do you? I'm telling you what. I'm gonna call Mr. Alvarado down there. I'm like, listen, you guys are called Dakota Hardwoods, and there's not a Dakota up here. What in the hell are you thinking?
So I talked to him. He said he'd do the thing we were talking about.
Yeah, we might have to do that because it's too expensive here. It's still cheaper to freight lumber from there here than it is to buy it here. I kid you not.
So
in walnut alone.
I'm just saying, like you get there should be a happy medium where you're saving money still when you freight stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good. I mean, it's not cheap by any means to go buy 4/4, 6/4, 8/4 walnut, cut it in half, load it on a pallet, saran wrap that son of a gun, and send it. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Nick. If we did the math, I bet you it's still cheaper than like $18 a board foot. So
that's true. You could probably distribute down there too if you wanted.
Josh is like
local woodworkers and stuff like that. You could probably make a killing.
If Dakota Hardwood wants to do a little deal with us, I'll do the same thing here and distribute some here, and I guarantee they'll make enough money.
I'll be a distributor.
How much is walnut up there, Josh, for like 4/4?
I haven't bought walnut in a month or two because I stocked up a little bit, but I think the last time I bought it was like $18.75 or something. It was ridiculous.
I was buying it when I was up there. I was going. There's a dude who sells wood out of what do you call it? On Facebook Marketplace, but he keeps all of his wood in different storage facilities, and he just makes trips around the state and opens the doors up and has people come to the storage facility.
Almost sounds sketchy. I like.
Well, I mean, like it was $5 a board foot for 8/4 walnut. What do you want, man?
I mean, listen, I'm not arguing. Okay, Josh, you may need to find out who that guy is.
You never hooked me up with that guy.
He's still up there. He's still on there. You could look up Facebook Marketplace walnut lumber. I guarantee he's on there. I had to drive an hour and a half to go get it, but still, I mean, that's what my kitchen table is made out of.
Listen,
Yeah.
Josh drove and met. Josh went and drove and met Victor. I think he'll drive the hour and a half to go get some walnut.
Well, like certain days he's in like down by Ocean City. Certain days he's over in Pennsylvania. Certain days, you know what I mean? Like he does stuff multi-state. So it's an interstate commerce crime that he's committing. No, I don't know.
Like I said, if Dakota wants to do something where we can distribute, I will get a storage facility and I will load that up and I'll do the same thing and start that because it would be so nice. That's one of the reasons I want to buy a house and property is so I could start building my lumber up and selling it and have a mill and all that and then do the woodworking too. That way, when you don't have a job or something, you're not truly busy. You can go out, cut some boards, get them drying, get them in the kiln.
You could have you could build like a sister company to North Country Woodworking, sell boards and beams and stuff like that,
Oh yeah, that's the plan is eventually.
You can even call it boards and beams.
Yeah, say North Country's Boards and Beams.
There you go.
That's far in the future, obviously. I just hit my 15-year mark this last weekend, so I got 5 years left.
Air Force birthday, get your clothing allowance, right? Go buy some wood.
Mm-hmm.
In February, it'll be 14 for me. 6 more years, can't go by any faster.
6 more years. There we go. All right, let's go. I'm my wife asked me. She's like, "Hey, do you have anything you want for Christmas?" I'm like,
wood.
I know I didn't tell her wood.
Nice hardwood.
I said I have your gift right here. Right? No, I'm playing. Anyway, I was like trying to think. I used to want stuff for the shop
And a microscope.
A microscope and some tweezers would be nice for those splinters. But
hey, listen, you got a baby pair of calipers. You're good. All right.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
Smoke another one, Josh. But I used to tell my wife, like, hey, I want this tool for my birthday or this tool for Christmas, and she would do her best to get me whatever I wanted, and then make it seem like a surprise, and it would always, oh, I didn't know, thank you. But this year it's like I don't want anything that has to do with the shop because it's completely separate from my normal, from my, I guess you could call it my recreational life now, since I can buy stuff for the shop and it comes out of shop funds.
Yep.
And I write it off for the shop, and I just kind of want to start, getting back into like having a hobby other than the hobby that I made a business. So.
Well, hell, was it, like 2 episodes ago? I talked about that kind of, how, like, it was nice to slow down a little bit. Like, I'm not in a rush. It's great. And, Nick, I can't wait to get back to it, bud, because it's nice to just sit and do nothing sometimes.
I think what you're trying to hit at is, like, the bow thing for me and hunting. Like, I haven't done that in years because I've been so wrapped up trying to get the business going, get everything, everything goes toward that. And like getting out there, just target practicing and getting my bow set up and just doing something other than woodworking, because woodworking is everything to me. It's like, that's still a huge part. And I'm vastly, still going to continue what I'm doing, social media wise, everything. But to be able to put that down and just do something else, it's actually given me ideas for woodworking. Inspiration comes in because you're not doing it and you're not in the shop, and you can actually think about things and how they might go together and stuff like that.
No, I don't ever think about things.
Listen, I'm going to tell you what. When I'm out of the military, don't get me wrong, I love doing custom work. And Nick, and I'm sure you love trying new things out. Josh, same thing. But I'm going to tell you what. When I have a product line, I'm making certain things and certain things only. Because I'm going to tell you what. Making things in not bulk, but making some of the same things over and over, it's, I don't know, you make more money doing that because eventually you just get faster at doing it, and then taking on the occasional custom project that might push you out of your comfort zone.
It's easier, by the way, but to replicate things and just do like an assembly line thing and batch them out. However, I get so bored when I make the same thing over and over and over again, and I got a large order for it. I'm like, yeah, the money's great, and I'm not going to turn down those orders because those are my bread and butter. But at the same time, I'm just going out of my I'm out of my head, bored, sanding the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean?
But then that's when you start making stuff that you want to make for yourself. I mean, if you're just batching stuff out and it's almost mind numbing, but oh well, that's drying right now. I guess I could just make something I want.
So I've made a couple one-off pieces in the past couple weeks. If you look at the Instagram.
No, I've seen your one-off pieces and they're cool. And I'm sure you had fun making them. You can tell. I can tell when you had fun making them is when the reel is super funny.
The reel super funny?
You have your reels are interesting, Nick. I'm just gonna put it out there. Some of your audio choices.
Super funny reel / TikTok. Brent, Clean Cut Woodworking, he decided to test his calibers. And he did it by plucking one of his nose hairs and seeing how thick it was. I died laughing so bad that my wife thought I was dying because I was coughing so bad. So if you haven't seen that, check that out. Before we get too far off on a tangent, Nick, is your shop wrapped up? Because I have a topic I'd like to throw on the table.
Yeah, I'm wrapped up. You're good to go.
Anyway, business insurance.
Oh, don't even get me started.
When or did you get business insurance? Do you think it's worth it? Is it necessary? And I know the answers to some of these, but I had someone reach out and they were thinking about starting a business, and one of their concerns was the insurance that go with it. So I don't want to get too into the weeds with it, but I want to go ahead and skip the surface and just give our 2 cents.
All right. Business insurance. Now, this is from my understanding. Our listeners could totally send a message if they have more information on this, but business insurance is a CYA for if someone were to come to your shop and pick something up, work maybe with you, any of those things, and they get hurt. Or something happens to their property or any of those things. Business insurance covers those things. Now, if you're worried about maybe, let's say, your workspace, okay, that, believe it or not, is, well, from my understanding, because we work out of our garage, is covered by homeowners insurance. Okay. Now, the only thing, and this is what I caution, and I actually did get into not really a debate, but a little back and forth with somebody about electrical work, is if you do your own electrical work, make sure it's inspected. Now, you also need to know the rules and laws of your state. This individual forgets that different states have different rules and laws when it comes to certain things. And here in the state of North Dakota, if it's, the electrician said it would have had to have been over $500 in material and all of that stuff for him to pull permits and all those things, and for him to write any kind of inspection report to state that he authorized me to do the work. But because I own the home, and by North Dakota law, I can go ahead and do my own electrical work if I am able to complete the work. It specifically states that if you can't do it, don't do it. So I did it. I had the guy still come look at it to verify that my work was clean, good to go, nothing was going to happen, and everything was savvy. If something were to happen to my garage from my workmanship, I am covered. Now, if you do need to get an inspection based on your state's laws and something happens, then, well, insurance might not cover that. No amount of business insurance will cover that because that's, well, a fault of your own in that case. But getting a little sidetracked there, but business insurance is really to CYA to make sure that your customers and yourself are protected if something were to happen with them being present in your shop. That's my understanding of it. And that's when I would say to get insurance is if you have a lot of clientele coming in your shop. That's when I would probably get it. Josh.
Thank you, sir. That's Sergeant Select, sir.
By the way, that's 3 days and counting, boys. 3 days and counting.
Here we
So
go.
that makes you tech sergeant still. Anyway, moving on. I'm sorry.
I'm sending you as soon as I'm sending you a freaking email.
Go ahead. I have you on auto delete already.
Oh, good.
I know how those senior in sales can get. Anyway, don't forget business insurance is good to have if you're installing things in other people's houses. So if you're transporting goods and then installing, it's good to have business insurance to cover your butt if something happens at their residence as well. And that would be my caveat to what Knapp said. And the rest of it is pretty much yeah, you nailed it. That's pretty much what I believe. You got to know your state. You got to have to know why you need it. And if any of those fit your category, just get it. It's going to be worth it in the long run. It's like anything. But my understanding is because we do have attached garages and that we work within the home, renter's insurance for the most part covers the majority of anything that's going to happen like in the garage regarding like equipment and stuff and that kind of damage. But for if you have whatever reason, a friend, someone working, doing a project in your shop, or God forbid a client that goes in and trips over a cord and smashes their head, you should probably have something for that. I always kind of do a caveat. If I have a client come in, I'm like, come in the shop, please don't touch anything. Don't turn anything on. And be careful where you're walking.
Oh, if you're turning stuff in my shop, I'm probably smacking your hands. I'm sorry.
Well, I always say that regardless because it's one of those things where it's like the three things. If you do that and it's recorded on the camera that I said not to do it, who's liable now? It's just a way to kind of protect myself. I don't know if it would ever hold up in court, but it makes me feel and give me that warm and fuzzy.
Warm fuzzies all around.
But yeah, I'm not going to go too much longer on that just because I should be repeating what Knapp said. So I'm going to toss it over to the Caterpillar Man because he has one crawling across his face.
That mustache is freaking glorious, by the way. It's
getting there.
It's looking pretty tamed. You got a little Ned Flanders thing going on there.
It's getting there. These new regs are filling it out a little more this time. But give it a couple weeks and it'll be like full on. So
I'm waiting for the beard reg to come into place because I honestly don't want to grow like a huge beard. I just want to not have to shave every day, like once a week.
Yeah, well, that'll probably be by the time we're out of the military.
Shut up.
all right. So business insurance. If you can afford it, get it. If you're doing work in other people's houses, like built-ins and things of that sort, you should you should have it. Was that shouldn't not have it?
Wait, pause, Nap. We're watching Senior NCO Skills right now.
Hold on.
Oh, he's making his pen.
And he's not even doing it right.
But yeah, you should never be in somebody else's house doing work without some sort of insurance plan. And that's to protect you and to protect your customer and the property. Because if let's say you do something that ends up falling off the wall and stabbing somebody in the eye, then guess what? That's your fault. So
that escalated quickly.
somebody's going to get, somebody's going to get talked to, preferably by a lawyer at that point. But I am working on looking at different business insurances. However, at this particular juncture, I do not have an insurance plan. I do have renter's insurance, which renter's insurance does cover. I made sure when I called to verify renter's insurance does cover my entire shop as well as all of my equipment upstairs. And that goes, for fire and flooding and stuff like that. Even if it's my fault, which they'll probably drop me after that. But regardless, that's all I have to say about that. Get it if you can. And if you're in other people's houses, you should have it.
It really just depends, I think, on your situation.
I think Nick, said it. If you can afford it, get it. Because, if Nick, looking at prices right now for your particular thing, if you don't mind sharing a couple of the price ranges, how much is it for business insurance?
Well, I don't know. I don't have the figures in front of me, but it was affordable. It's just, is the plan. So here's the thing. You have different plans that you can get that cover different things.
Yes, I'm going for like an average. I was trying to
anyway. I was looking at paying like $25 a month for.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's going to be affordable enough, and you're going to have it backing you. You're going to have that feel good, and it's.
But I don't have it.
Yeah, currently.
But what I was saying is I don't have it to where it covers other people in the workspace. I don't have to worry about employees. Yeah. I mean, but occasionally my brother comes over to sand something, but
that's not necessary.
But God forbid somebody wanders into my garage off the street and goes to make a cut on something because they're curious. Because let's get this straight. I'm not always right there in my garage when the door's open. I have to go inside to take a crap. I got to go inside and eat lunch. I don't always shut everything down because then I have to move everything away from the door and shut the door and all that stuff. And sometimes the laser's running. I can't. I have to vent. So
Yeah.
That being said, that I would not be covered if I would be held liable if somebody was coming off the street.
Well, that's why I have
stuff.
cameras. In the garage I only have four things plugged in all the time. It's
That's it?
my laser, my CNC, my table saw, and my miter saw. Everything else I have to plug into an extension cord in order to get it to work and function correctly. That's how I operate. Fortunately, it's extension cords for almost everything. My blade's always down in my table saw, so if they turned it on, it's just going to run in the table saw.
My miter might be plugged in.
My miter might be the biggest culprit in that. If they could figure out the CNC and the laser, then they spend a lot of time in there. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think someone could walk up and turn on those setups quickly.
My joiner's always plugged in. That could be a huge deal. You got that arm gazpacho going on with the dangly fingers. If somebody was to wander into the garage, but it's all the way in the back of the garage now, so you have to kind of wade through a bunch of shit to get to it.
You guys got those Gucci shops where it's 2-car garage. What I got is the long box worth $4.
It's not about the size of the shop. It's about how you use it.
Oh, I packed her tight. My tools fit. Oh, let's wrap it up.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's episode has been, we'll call this Sick Episode Part 2 with Josh. That one where Josh sounds like he smokes a lot. Been brought to you by... You done? You good?
Pack of Newports later.
Marble Reds.
All right. All right, this episode's been brought to you by Backwoods Cigars. Josh smokes them. He loves them. Remember, folks, he inhales every time. But no, to be honest with you, this episode has been brought to you by PWNCNC. Check them out at pwncnc.com. And if you're looking to get 10% off your order, use promo code SawDustNation981. And tell Daniel over there that we sent you. And also Total Boat. Total Boat, you guys rock. So, folks, if you're looking for that epoxy experience or some cool varnish and other sorts of wood honey, and you know it, just head on over to TotalBoat.com. If you want 10% off your order, slide into our DMs at the Sawdust Nation Podcast on the Instagram, and we'll hook you up. And I also would like to thank our affiliates, Makerstock.com. I just placed a large order from them, so hopefully that gets here soon. Cannot wait. But I get my acrylic from them. I know Nap gets veneers and
I get all sorts of stuff from them, man. Awesome,
amazing stuff. But yeah, check them out at Makerstock.com for 10% off your order. Use promo code SAWDUST10. That's going to be off your initial order, by the way, so you can only use that promo code one time. And last but not least, thanks to OMTech Lasers for being one of our affiliates. And I'm going to kick it on over to Nat.
Yeah, hey, so check it out. It's been a while since you heard my angelic voice, but hey, if you listen to something on Spotify, Apple Podcast, any of those places that you can catch a podcast, give us 5 stars. And if you don't give us 5 stars, tell us why, because we cannot give you what you want, what you really, really want, if you don't tell us what you want. But if you do give us those 5 stars, still give us some feedback. Tell us what you liked about the episode. And if you heard something that maybe could use more clarification or give us more information on something, go ahead and do that. And the way you can do that is by how, Josh?
Well, Nap, it's easy to go ahead and send us a message on Instagram. You can reach all 3 of us from the Sawdust Nation podcast page. You never know who you're going to get, but most likely, if you get the mustache, I'll let you know. Talking about the mustache, we're talking about Nick from MPG Creations. The glorious mustache is coming back, and if you're not a Patreon, you're not able to see that, unfortunately for you. But you can go ahead and catch him on this page. Then we have Nap returning, thankfully. Well, hopefully continuing with Nap's Nutty Works LLC down there in North Dakota. It might get cold, but he's staying hot. And then myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking, here coughing away, but we're going to get better and get in the shop here soon. Yeah, all Instagram. If you don't like social media, that's fine. We have an email account you can reach us at, and that's sawdustnationpodcast sawdustnation@gmail.com. And there you can send us the same information, questions, topics, what you're doing in the shop, start a conversation. We'd love to hear from you either way. But I mentioned this before, Patreon is the way to go. It's the ultimate way to be part of the podcast when we record, get those topics and questions live while we record, laugh with us, cry with us, and all of the above. But you got to be in the third tier, and some perks of that is you get entered into every giveaway when you're present 2 times. You get special gifts throughout the year. You get to watch us live during recordings and some other things as well. Go ahead and check it out. Worst case, like buying a Happy Meal every month. It's not too bad. We're going to go and toss it for final words to Nap.
Hey, folks. So I do say every episode, make sure we're taking care of each other. Add to the community. Give all the information that you can. Man, it's what only makes this community stronger. However, my message today is, hey, sometimes we got to take a step away. For real life, things happen with our real jobs, because all 3 of us, on the podcast, we all have a real job before we get to do our more fun job, which is woodworking. But make sure y'all checking in on each other, making sure everyone's good to go. I mean, sometimes you don't see someone posting for, I don't know, days on end, and all of a sudden they just completely disappear off the map. Sometimes dropping them a line just to see how they're doing is not a bad idea. That's also a part of taking care of each other, not just in the shop, but also just as human beings, taking care of each other. So that's what I got. Nick.
All right, folks. So like always, take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, the best thing about dating a homeless chick is when the date's over, you just drop her off anywhere. Josh.
Saves on gas. It really does. Thank you for listening to the 118th episode. We appreciate, you guys listening to us every week. Hopefully you can listen to us when you're making that cup of coffee, making some breakfast, going into work, leaving work, at the gym, in the workshop. However you listen to us, we do appreciate it, and we like whispering in your ears. To next week, go make some sawdust, and Sawdust Nation out!
That was scary. Oh man, week and a half, almost 2 weeks away. It's been crazy, boys.
I bet. Thanks to our Patreons for joining us tonight. We love you all, and to all, have a good night.